Hey guys, welcome back to Missing Out Mondays, where we tell you what we're into, start your week off right. I'm Tari J.
I'm Lex Michael.
Lex Michael and I are going to be talking about Creed 2. So if you haven't seen it, I guess we'll be as general as possible at first, and then we're going to spoil the fuck out of it. So I guess we'll make a bunch of noise, or we'll let you know when we start to get into spoilers. Totally. Yeah. Lex, what did you think of the movie in general?
Okay, so I liked it a bunch. I think it's a bit messy, but I think it's carried by a lot of charm, a lot of really nice moments. Definitely not as good as the first Creed, but I feel like that's a little bit unfair since I consider the first Creed to be a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But it felt very much to me, it felt like a mid-series Rocky movie, which is I'm good with. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it almost didn't necessarily have to be as good as the first. It just needed to hit sort of a certain bar of quality for me that I feel like it absolutely did. It feels, actually, especially bringing in more of the Rocky mythology than they brought in the first one, really does feel even more of a piece with the rest of the Rocky franchise proper. But yeah, I like what they did with Drago quite a bit, and I was very surprised by that. But I don't know if you've seen Rocky 4.
No.
Rocky 4, where they introduce Ivan Drago, that's the one where, spoilers for some of the inciting stuff of both Creed movies, if you saw them, I don't know, maybe you missed it. Maybe you got popcorn every time they mention Apollo Creed. But 4 is the one where Ivan Drago kills Apollo Creed in the ring. Ivan Drago is a big old cartoon. Like, Rocky 4 is, if they made a live-action version of what I imagine an 80s animated Rocky series would have been, it'd be Rocky 4. Ivan Drago is a pretty broadly drawn cartoon character. Mm-hmm. I really like the way that they were able to update and ground that character within, you know, 'cause especially later on in the Rocky franchise when things kind of got a little bit more cartoony. Nowhere near as grounded as both Creed movies are. So updating Drago, kind of fitting him into that version of this reality and exploring what makes him tick a little bit more, like actually fleshing him out as a person as opposed to a big cartoonish Russian super soldier boxer. I like what they were able to do with that character. There are things that I wish were developed a little more fully or explored a little bit more. I feel like there was not as much of a sense of escalation over the course of the story as I maybe would have liked.
Yeah.
But what's there, I find really effective. There are a couple of moments in the movie too, like I find so affecting and heartwarming as well. So it did everything I needed it to and a little bit more.
Yeah.
But certainly does not hit the highs of the previous movie.
Yeah, I get that. I think that I really liked it. I think that there were some moments that for me were frustrating in terms of like character actions and motivations. Like, you understand them based on what you know of the character, but you just don't like to see people you enjoy behaving badly, I guess.
Sure.
But I felt like all the visuals were amazing. The way that like the characters have grown over the course of just even this movie, so much time is spanned. Because like this movie takes place over the course of like months, and it's almost seamless how time moves. I thought was really interesting. Also, I think I really liked the way that all the themes came together. This idea of like family and what motivates people to pursue their passions and things of that sort. Like, where do you derive your own sense of self?
Sure.
Like, all of those things I really liked, and I thought that they were a good way of. I thought it was a good way of presenting these sequel ideas without just rehashing what they did in the first one, where they're like, oh, he's got to train for a fight. It's like, what beyond that drives this character?
Sure.
Which I thought was really cool.
Yes, I wish the ending, even though I think the whole climactic sequence of this movie really does work real well overall.
Yeah.
I wish they had resolved some of the themes in the climax a little bit more coherently.
Yeah.
There are a couple of moments, there are a couple of, and they're not massive, just a couple of choices that left me going, but you were so close. Like it was right there, and like a tiny little tweak, you would have stuck this landing so efficiently.
Yeah.
But I feel like we maybe in a couple of spots just ran past that.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Like there was a lot of what I would describe as meandering throughout the movie, which I don't know how I feel about. Like I think it didn't detract too much. I just think that like at a certain point they kind of lost sight of where they were going and then kind of course corrected. And so like I get with the way that happened, how the ending could feel like it wasn't as satisfying as it could have been. But I still enjoyed it, which I think
I still came away from it really pleased.
Yeah. So I feel like that is the most that we can say without spoiling things. So I'm going to say that if you haven't watched the movie, just like pause this, get out of your car or bus or Uber or whatever, go watch the movie, and then come back. Come hang out with us after that. Yeah, do that. So I'm giving you so much time to pause this and come back. All this is staying in. Like I'm just talking to you and letting you reach up to your dashboard and press pause and go to your next episode of This American Life. Because there's always an episode on Monday. No one listens on Sunday. You always listen on Monday. Okay. Are you back now? Oh my gosh. It's been so long.
We missed you.
Thanks for coming back. We did. Oh man, I love spending time with you. And now that you've seen the movie that I've seen, let's talk about it in depth.
Yeah.
Guys, do you remember when Drago bit Rocky's ear off and then spit in his mouth and was like, "I break you"? Yeah. That was my spoiler.
I don't think that was this movie.
Oh, got it. Okay, damn.
Yeah.
But no, I really liked, now that we're talking about spoilers, I liked the trajectory of Michael B. Jordan's, or of Creed, in that, like, I love that even though he had gotten to this point where he is you start the movie where he's the world champion.
Right, like the first fight. And I like that they brought Danny Wheeler back, but the first fight is him finally taking the world heavyweight champion title.
Yeah. And I like that essentially it kind of asked this question, like, once you've reached the top, like, what is left for you? Like, where do you as a person derive your validation? Like, this is a character who we know has been essentially abandoned since his young childhood. And this was the one thing that brought him joy and the one thing that, like, he had to strive for.
Right.
And then, like, he gets to that pinnacle and he doesn't know what to do with himself. He doesn't know how to really, like, exist outside of that. And then he gets this challenge that, like, is more symbolic than anything. And he doesn't even know why he's mad, bro.
Right.
He's just like, this guy killed my dad, whom I never knew and who never had a connection to until the last movie.
I get the pride thing. Like, I get the pride aspect, and I get even more than it tracks as like a vendetta for me. It definitely, like, once he's called out in this way, it's like, all right, well, I got to take it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what this means? I got to take it.
Right.
And Rocky's like, no.
Yeah.
And he's like,
you're going to die.
It's like, all right, fuck off, Rocky.
Yeah. I really liked that moment outside of Rocky's place. I felt like up until a certain point, up until he got his ass beat, Creed was acting like a petulant child.
A bit, yeah.
And I wasn't a fan of it because I felt like he had gotten over that in the first movie. Like, I understand that you needed it to like, you needed him to get to the point where he had to get knocked down a peg,
right,
so that he can build himself back up.
You really wanted him to be season 1 Luke Cage when he was more season 2 Luke Cage.
Yeah. But I mean, So like I get it from a storytelling standpoint, but I think that like having to do that took us so many places that we didn't necessarily need to go. So like the way that the movie goes, and you've seen it, so I don't really need to recap it for you. But like, you know, he argues with Rocky, goes to L.A., does some minor training at the L.A. gym, gets his ass whooped, blames everybody, then like has to figure out why he's fighting again. And like I liked the aspect of him essentially being beat to the point where like he loses himself.
Sure.
But getting there was kind of wonky for me.
Yeah. Okay. That tracks. For me, it's more how by the end of the story, I feel like we come so close to paying off this idea of family and having Creed Donnie actually learn something. And
Yeah.
I feel like he got to win essentially without actually having to learn anything.
Yeah.
Like by the end of the story, like, you know, it's very much like, oh, he finally figured out what he's fighting for. And I guess what they mean is like family.
Yeah.
It's what the intention is, but I feel like they don't ultimately do more than pay lip service. They pay lip service to it so effectively, and the theme carries into every single character's story.
Yeah.
All of that's great. Like they lay all of that groundwork so well. But at the end of the movie, my reading of it was supposed to be about Donnie getting past just being driven by this anger and this petulance and this need to just like go ham all over everything.
Yeah.
And he ultimately wins by getting really angry and going ham on everything until Drago throws in the towel.
Yeah.
Sidebar, I really, really like that. Like Drago even gets an actual good parenting moment in this movie.
Yeah.
But I was like, I was thinking about it after the fact because it really feels like Donnie didn't actually learn anything. You could have done that same setup because you still, I guess you have to do it in a way where like he's still champ at the end of that fight. If that's where you want to go, okay, like he doesn't lose the title, so he's not going to throw it. He's not going to stay down.
Yeah.
But you could have had a moment where he's wailing on Victor, I believe is little Drago,
Yeah.
baby Drog's name.
Yeah.
Wailing on him, and he's just going, and he's like Ivan Drago sees him about to take his son apart, and he approaches to throw in the towel, and Donnie's just not going to let him, and then maybe he kind of sees like as he's throwing the punches, like he sees Drago like with this look in his eyes, like ready to throw in the towel to save his son.
Yeah.
And Donnie has this moment of realization, like, oh, like that's what I should be fighting for and not this.
Yeah.
And lets him throw in the towel instead
Right.
of continuing to take the guy apart. Some version of that. I was like, that is the moment of lesson learning that I feel like doesn't actually happen in the movie.
Yeah. There's no point at which like he sees that like Drago is what like Victor Drago was essentially what he was becoming, like this rage monster. And I like this idea that he sees that like even this guy who killed his father can have these paternal feelings and all that stuff. So I really like that take on it.
I felt like, and it doesn't have to be that. That's just the one that I like. The night that I saw it, I was like, what is it that I feel was missing? And that's the version of it I came up with. But some moment, because I feel like we pay off everybody's story about family except Donnie's, really. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we pay a ton of lip service to it, and I love all of the pieces that are there a lot because I really like these characters. But I feel like the through line is real muddled, and I
Yeah.
really feel like that payoff moment of lesson learned is absent.
Yeah. I almost wish, for me, I think what I would have liked is this moment of Donnie and Victor meeting on their own beforehand, like separate from the fight, and kind of like coming to terms with the idea that like it's not about their fathers, it's about them,
Right.
And really like agreeing to meet in the ring as like not to be like, "Oh, like two men," but like meeting as equals. And so like at the end of the fight, they like, it doesn't necessarily have to be Michael B. Jordan beating him up, but more like one of them comes out on top because of the work that they've put in, and like at the end they like are friends.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
want them to, like I want like because that's his whole thing. He's like, this ain't for me, or this ain't for about my dad. This ain't about it's about me. And I just wanted them to like both come to that realization and like at the end of the fight end as equals. It could have even been like that Rocky Apollo moment where they're both punching.
Oh, at the
and
end
it,
of
like,
Rocky
freeze
3?
frames. Yeah,
And like Eye of the Tiger starts
Yeah.
playing?
It could have been that. It's just like, haha, we're both champions. Freeze frame.
Okay, yeah, that something like that. But I kind of get what you're gesturing towards, and like, yeah, something.
Yeah.
Some version of that, because I feel like, again, like all of the groundwork was laid really pretty well.
Yeah.
And we just didn't necessarily stick all of those landings.
Yeah. Something else of note that I really liked and thought it was really very well handled was the child being born deaf.
Yes.
Because we know that like Tessa Thompson's character Bianca
Yes.
is affected by this hearing disease.
Yeah, she's got like a degenerative, like progressive hearing loss.
Yeah.
Which I really like the moment early in the movie where they're signing to each other.
Yeah.
And we don't comment on it. But like if you know the characters and they kind of reestablish for you that Bianca will over time lose her hearing fully, I love that knowing that that's coming, like she and Donnie have been practicing signing to each other so that they'll be able to communicate. And I really, not only do I really like that, but I really like that the movie doesn't comment on it. It's just part of their lives.
Right. And I loved that moment with Rocky and Donnie where like Donnie has to get that gut check where Donnie's like, like, it's going to be okay. They're going to do more tests. They're going to like make sure it's okay. And Rocky has to check him to be like, yo, what if even if it's not okay, like, are you going to love him or her? Him, her, doesn't matter. Are you going to love this baby? And it's like, yes, no matter what happens, like what's important is that you love your child. So I'd love that moment because like, it's really easy for a thing to be like, oh, turns out that, the baby had hearing and it's okay.
Right.
And it's like, no, like you don't need to be ableist. Like you have to accept that like some babies are born deaf and like, you just love that child and do what you can to like make the world easier for them to live in.
Of course. And it also ties into Rocky's story as well, because we see like part of Rocky's story in this movie is trying to figure out whether it's possible for him to reconnect with his estranged son. And if it is possible, how can he do it? We see multiple times in the movie, he references and we see it, like he keeps picking up the phone to call his son. And when he goes to call, he can't bring himself to. So
Yeah.
the guy that is estranged from his son feels like for all intents and purposes has lost his son. Imparting that to Donnie, I think, is really nice. And it's one of those where it's like you look at the layers of it and both layers sort of make me go like,
Yeah.
But I got emotional at the end of the movie where Rocky reconnects with his son.
Yeah.
I thought that was really nice. And it's Milo Ventimiglia, who now everybody knows from This Is Us.
Right.
But he also played that character in Rocky Balboa in 2006, I think is when that one came out.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one either. As you guys know, if you've been listening to this show for a while, or if you
Our
don't
very
know.
first episode was we talked about Rocky.
Yeah. Because I had never seen it. I had never seen any of them. I had only seen it referenced in popular culture. So I hadn't seen it. And I knew that like one of the Rockies was about his son.
Not about his son. In Rocky V, his son, and in Rocky V, I believe the son is played by Stallone's real life son, Sage, who has since passed away. But that movie features a plot about he finds this kind of protege that he starts to train, and it starts to strain his relationship with his son. So it's in large part about that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily say it's about his son.
Okay. Well, I knew it was son adjacent.
Yes, it is definitely son adjacent. It is definitely son focused, but not to the exclusion of all other things.
Yeah. But yeah, so, and I really liked that moment, where he gets to meet his grandson, and it's so emotional. Like everyone's crying in that scene, and I was also.
I got emotional for sure.
Yeah.
I would if you want to get hit even harder by the emotions that Rocky's story can generate in the two Creed films, I'd recommend going back and watching as much of the series as possible.
Yeah.
But a lot of what they carried over into Creed comes from Rocky Balboa.
Okay.
At that point, spoilers for the Rocky franchise, Adrian has passed away. Paulie's still alive, but he's got the restaurant and he's got that chair that he keeps at the cemetery so he can sit and he can kind of read the paper and talk to Adrian.
Yeah.
And now by the time we get to Creed, like Paulie's passed away too. And he goes and he talks with both of them, same chair, same cemetery, same restaurant that he still owns and operates.
Yeah.
So like all of that stuff hits me even harder. Like it's hard for me not to get emotional when he's at the cemetery in both Creed movies talking to the two of them.
Yeah.
Like because it's like if you've watched the entire series, it's like that history. And just to see Rocky day after day, week after week keep going back because those people were his world, right? And like his son is gone to him now. So like his world is those two headstones. So he can like go and be with the people that were most important to him. I get emotional about this shit when he goes and visits the cemetery in the two Creed movies.
Yeah.
Just like knowing how strained his relationship with his son eventually became. And Rocky Balboa is the first movie where Mila Ventimiglia appears. You see that dynamic, and you see their dynamic fracturing even further.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see them pay that off now in this movie, and I really love so I felt at the end of Creed like every person's arc, like every character's arc was complete, including Rocky. I think the ending of Creed is about as perfect an ending to Rocky Balboa's story as possible, and same goes for pretty much everybody else.
Yeah.
So in a world where, all right, well, there's money to be made, we're gonna tell another story with all of these characters, I'm really pleased that we gave Rocky like a happy resolution.
Yeah.
I like that because dude's been through a whole bunch, and it's nice to see.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, I think that should wrap us up on Missing Out Monday.
Yeah, we hit a bunch of stuff. I would definitely recommend it. Again, like I don't think it's as good as the first movie, but most movies aren't as good as that movie.
Right.
I think like if you like any of the Rocky stuff, you'll dig it a lot, and if you don't, but you liked Creed, you'll still dig it a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think it has just as much amazing shot work and the fight scenes and choreography is really well done.
It all really works. I will say there's nothing that wows the way Coogler's one take fights in that first movie. Wow.
Yeah.
But minus that, and yes, you lose a little bit of dynamism, but I mean the fights still, I mean they rip, dude.
Oh yeah, and I think that like they stepped up how like brutal and visceral the fights were in this one. So like if anything, it's also worth that. Like it's almost like you're at a real boxing match.
Oh, like watching both Creed movies in a theater with a big audience is really nuts. Like especially when I saw the first one.
Yeah.
You'd think the matches were happening live in the theater, the way people were reacting.
Oh yeah. So shout out to the sound design team because they kill it. And so if you have any thoughts about Creed, hit us up on Twitter at Missing Outcast, MissingOutcast, or you can hit us up on the Missing Out hotline. Leave us a voicemail at 978-MISS-OUT, and we will include it on the Missing Out Monday segment, baby.
And, like Creed 2 did pretty dang well when it opened, so my hope is that Creed 3 is all but assured. If they do not title it Threed, I am not participating. Because it's right there. It's sitting there. It's just like I'm still bewildered they didn't call this one Creed 2 Bruise Control. It's right there.
They'll save it for the Blu-ray.
That's like their Snyder cut.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Release Bruise Control.
There's no such thing. I know, but they won't listen.
Guys, also, if you have the chance, feel feel free to go on whatever platform you're listening to, whether it be Google Play, iTunes. Also, we're on Spotify. If you listen to Spotify, it makes it so much easier to listen to podcasts and your music. You don't need a premium account or anything. But if you have a chance, leave us a review or a rating on whatever platform you're listening to. Just it helps us get higher in the charts. It helps people find us, helps us continue to do more sweet missing out episodes. So speaking of other missing out episodes, tomorrow we're going to be talking about Twin Peaks, the 1990 series. We cover the pilot, and we're going to cover the second episode, and then I'm going to try to guess as many things as possible, and Lex is probably not going to tell me anything. So tune into that, especially if you're a big David Lynch fan. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you later. Marching crazy, but it ain't no lie, baby. Bye, bye, bye.